Hello class again and welcome to this particular video, and in here we're going to be exploring more about measurements, but this time we'll be relating it to objects. It could be, in this case, what is the mass of an object, or what is the volume that a particular object can contain in a space, or in this case here we can say what is the distance of an object when it travels, how many particular units in terms of the distance. And all of this can range from very small numbers to very large numbers. And when you use just one unit, you see where I'm going? One unit to associate numbers, this could be really huge in terms of how you're representing it in or on your specific notes or when you're describing various situations. Let's take, for example, in here we have, let's say, you're given a number of seeds that can be present in a specific orange, and so it says here that you have 5 seeds in an orange. And so this shows you that if you want to write it in words or in mathematical form, you can say 5 seeds is equal to 1 orange. But then when you have, let's say, 2 of 5 oranges in one basket, it means that there is a standard unit that is going on right here. It means here that for specific 5 oranges, they do make one basket. And so this association is what we are going to be doing right here. And the reason why we are doing it is because we need to be able to shorten things to make bigger numbers to contain a very big unit or value. And so that is where metric system comes in this particular activity. So take note here that you need to write the bell work, which is as follows. You need to know the introduction of metric system based on the goal, which is you should be able to know the 6 prefixes that are connected to the base unit. And you're asking yourself, Mr. O, what are the base units? The base units, as we talked about, are mass, volume, and distance or length. And in here you're also going to relate the prefixes to the powers of 10, and this particular point will be dealt with on our next video. And finally here we're going to organize numbers or specific prefixes from biggest to smallest, and that is where this particular next step comes in. So please make sure you write something to remember and relate in the following order. So in here we're given various acronyms, I'll put it that way, and these acronyms might look kind of, why do I need these particular acronyms in here where I can just remember, but there's some things you need to keep in mind in terms of these acronyms here. We have from biggest, King, followed by Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk, and this here goes from biggest to smallest. And this is a last resort if you can remember the specific order of our prefixes. That is what we're going to be dealing with. So please remember the prefixes as I'm writing it down. Please, so should you while writing it on your notes. So here are the prefixes. But before we jump into prefixes, you're asking yourself a question. Mr. O, what are prefixes? So prefixes are considered to be words that are before, and the words that are after is called a suffix. And so therefore, when you make a word from prefix and suffix, it means that you're bringing the before word and after word together to form a new word, which means you have prefix which comes before and suffix after together. So it's now called prefix suffix, or a new word in this case, or before after. So in here we have our prefix that we're going to deal with first, and the first word here we're going to target is the first letter of that word. That is why it is highlighted as red. So the red word, sorry, the red letter is what we're going to be focusing on. So the first letter in king is K, and K is represented as kilo. And so kilo is the first prefix, and kilo is what we're going to be using in terms of our conversion process. So keep that in mind for our next video. Now the next one is the first letter in Henry, which is H, and H is represented as Hecto. And the next one here is D, which is from the word doesn't, and D is going to be focused here as deca. And that is the suffix that are bigger than the one which is U. And U here, which is from usual, is represented as unit. But the unit is considered to be a suffix because that is where we are starting from. That is the baseline. So anything going up is bigger than the base unit. So the base unit in this case consists of the following, which are as follows. We have 1, the mass, which we're going to talk about in terms of what units are used to measure mass. The next one is the volume, what units are used to measure volume. And finally here, the length of an object, what units are used to represent the length of an object. And so we're going to talk about the unit of these 3 base units in focus very soon. And so next one here is D, and D from drink is represented as the word, in this case prefix, deci. And then the next one here is C, which is going to be represented as centi. And finally here M is considered to be milli. Take note that you can even go lower if possible, but for our grade, we're just going to be focusing on the 6, including our unit. So take note that for the units, which are the base unit, for mass is usually using the suffix units to be in grams. But other countries, they use other units, like for example pounds in, I think, the United States, or in, mainly in the United States they use pounds. Now the next one here is volume, and the base unit for measuring volume of an object is usually in liters, and other countries they use cubic meter, for example. And finally here, the length of an object is always, or some major of the time, measured in this case, meter. And other countries, they use inches, for example. And now let's focus on our next part, which is representing kilo, hecto, deca, grams, liter, meter, deci, centi, and milli in short forms. And so the short form first of our kilo is represented as the small letter K, and once you have that combined with our mass, whose unit is in grams, we can then have kilograms, which is kg. And if you have K with liter, then it means that liter is represented as L, so it will be KL, so kiloliters. And next one is for meter, for length, and you have kilo, then it means that it will be kilometers, or you have KLM, sorry. And so those are how you're able to combine your prefix with any of the base unit that you are going to be targeting on. If you were asked that what is the volume of an object when the number is 10 kiloliters, it means that if you want to transform 10 kiloliters from volume to a short form, it will be 10 kl. And we're going to talk about that in various examples. Next is Hecto. The short form of Hector is H, and take note that it is a prefix. And in the next one here, we have Deca, which is represented as DA dash, and the next one is Deci, which is just D, and that is now followed by our suffix. And the next one is chocolate, which is centi, and centi is represented as C. And finally, milli is represented as small m with our suffix. So, for example, if you're asked here, what is the distance from a particular point to another, and they give you the number, which is 100 centimeter, and you're asked to write it in short form. To write it in short form, we know that we have centi to be the prefix, which is what we have here, and the suffix is in meters. And so therefore, to write this in short form, what you write is 10 centi is represented as the short form, which is C. We have that, and the short form of meter is M, which is what we have right there. So that is one way of going about it. How about you're given another one, which is 0.1 kiloliters, and you asked what is the short form of writing this in terms of the measurement. So the short form of this is, we know that this is the prefix. I'll just write it pre, and this here is liter, the suffix, and we know that the suffix is the base unit. So therefore, we can then shorten our 0.1. In this particular case, our prefix is K, and we have that K, and the next one is our suffix, which is liters, represented as L, which is capital letter L. So this is the short form, and this is the worded form right here. So that is how you're able to relate the words which are shown in orange for the prefix of our scaling, going from biggest to smallest, which is what we have here, and connecting it to the unit, which is shown right here. Take note that the unit is going to be going up. That means it's getting bigger here. And from the unit, which is number we're going to talk about on our next video, to or below that is going smaller. And so in this case here, we're going to explore more about the numbers that represents the kilo, the hecto, and the deca from our unit, and the deci, centi, and milli from our unit on our next video. So watch out for that, and please make sure you go through the examples and the questions that I asked you concerning which one is bigger. Is it kilo or centi, or is it milli and deca? So just for you to be familiar yourself with those particular prefixes. So thanks for following me through this. I appreciate it. Please let me hear your comments in our specific Google Meet if you have any questions. By that way, we're going to address those on our Google Meet, and also email me if you have any questions, and we're going to solve more questions and examples in terms of short forms, and also which one is bigger or smaller. All the same, stay smart as always, and believe in yourselves.